Hello Slayers, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna get into the reaction recap commentary to Outlander Season 2. If you don't know, I posted Season 1 recap already. I'm gonna really try to spit these out because I gotta get to the true reactions. That being said, something's telling me to just react to Season 7 and then the spin-off. I don't know, I'm also just can't wait to continue season 5. I mean, I'm loving it, but I know that 4, 5, and 6 are lower on the rankings. So let me know if I should just react to season 7. It would honestly, I guess, make my life easier. I truly wish that I reacted to this all, but it is so much. So it's like a blessing and a curse. So yeah, I'm thinking as of this moment that maybe I should just react starting at season 7 and do these recaps to season 6. But I don't know, let me know. I just posted the first video, so I'm not really sure of the reaction and the temperature of what you guys would be into. That being said, it really is just do I want to do it or not myself? And I just don't want the joy of this show taken from me in any way. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know. But I will be following Princess Plotline, such a great name, channel. I will link her video below if you'd like to watch that yourself and come back to me or whatnot. If you'd like me to even continue these recaps or potentially do the reaction, give this a thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know that you guys are here and are here for this, because maybe I'll just continue on my own. I don't know. I just know that I want to talk about this show with someone, so that's why I'm here. Alright, let's get into season 2 of Outlander. I guess my general thoughts real quick. I wasn't so into the Paris vibe, and I feel definitely the second half of this season was much better than the first. And I'm surprised that season 2 seems so high in people's rankings, but because I just think their true love is in full swing by the end of this season and is teeing up season 3, and then season 3 to me was just top tier. Yeah, I'm curious, what do you guys think of this season? And it truly seems like everyone likes 1, 2, and 7 the best. Can't wait to get to 7. That's why I'm should I just react to 7? And then we could react to 8 together, all together. And I definitely want to check out the spin-off, of course. All right, let's do it.
Time to dive into Outlander Season 2 and find out what kind of wild ride awaits them. We begin at Craig Nadoon, where Claire wakes up super confused, even more confused than we are at this point.
This was insane.
Starts to walk, and then a car horn blares. That's right, guys.
Okay.
Claire's back in the
I get why season 2 could be everyone's favorite because of the way this starts, but it really doesn't proceed until season 3, right? Let's see.
It's 1948, a whole 2 years after she disappeared. The driver stops to help her, and Claire immediately asks him who won the Battle of Culloden. The answer is heartbreaking, the English one, of course. This means that Jamie and Claire's plan to change the future failed. Fast forward a bit, Claire gets taken to the hospital, and Frank, her 1940s husband, is thrilled to see her. But poor Claire can't stop seeing Black Jack Randall's face when she looks at him. The newspapers have been printing stories about her being kidnapped by the fairies, so naturally Frank wants answers. But Claire's not ready to talk yet.
Kidnapped by the fairies? I'm kind of obsessed with that. That in itself sounds like such a cool story. Maybe I'll write that story.
Reverend Wakefield's place to help Claire recover. While she's there, she dives deep into the Reverend's history books, searching for any hint that Jamie survived the Battle of Culloden. But she finds nothing. Frank is surprisingly patient and supportive. That's when Claire decides to drop the bombshell on him. She tells him everything: the time travel, the marriage to a handsome Highlander, and the fact that she's pregnant. Don't worry, we'll find out what happened to the other baby.
I remember being super confused about how she could be pregnant, and I wasn't connecting what happened to the other baby in real time.
Frank is pretty crushed. But then after a heart-to-heart with Reverend Wakefield, who shares his own story about adopting his great-nephew Roger, Frank starts thinking maybe there's still hope for them. So he makes a deal with Claire. He's willing to raise the baby as his own, but there's a catch. They've got to move to Boston, away from the press, and Claire needs to stop looking for Jamie. She agrees, and off they go to
So this is obviously my first time reliving this. So wow, this show really must get better and better the more you watch it, because spoiler, I'm not really thinking of that kid Roger, but now I'm realizing how far back Roger goes and comes. I just finished season 4.
America. And now we flash back to 1744 to find out the rest of the story. Jamie and Claire step off the boat in Le Havre, France, and rent a room to settle in. Jamie's still deeply traumatized from everything that happened with Randall, so Claire distracts him with her plan to change the future. Since she doesn't remember much about history, her idea is simple. Infiltrate the Jacobite movement, figure out where they're getting their money, weapons, and supplies, and then mess up their plans before the Battle of Culloden ever happens. Sounds easy, right?
Putting yourself in Claire's mind, it's so horrible to feel that rejection of him, especially with the love that they have. I couldn't imagine how dark this gets.
It's just a crippled Highlander and a pregnant Englishwoman trying to change the future. The first thing they do is talk to Jamie's cousin Jared, a well-known Jacobite who has a lot of connections. So Jamie lets him think he's fighting for the same cause. Since Jared has to go on a trip, he asks Jamie to take over his wine business, and Jamie accepts. Things seem to be going smoothly until Claire spots a sick man being hauled off a boat. She rushes over to examine him and realizes he's got smallpox. Claire being Claire, she shouts the news to the four winds. And just like that, the authorities decide to burn the ship and its cargo to prevent an outbreak. And that's how Claire makes her first enemy in France. The ship's owner, the powerful Count of Saint-Germain, is not happy with her.
Forgot about Jamie
and Claire then head to Paris and move into Jared's fabulous house, complete with servants, carriages, and all the French luxury you can imagine. France is pretty chill at this point. The revolution is still decades away, but Jamie is still dealing with his Randall trauma. Claire assures him that Randall was trampled by a herd of cows, so there's nothing to worry about. Spoiler alert, that's not entirely true. Jamie soon gets a meeting with Charles Stuart, also known as the guy who thinks he's going to unite the clans and reclaim the throne of Scotland. Jamie tries to convince him that Scotland isn't ready to take on England, but Charles is living in his own fantasy, thinking God's on his side. Murtaugh thinks Charles is an idiot, and honestly, he's not wrong, but he's a dangerous idiot. Charles has this grand idea to get financial backing from the King of France, so he ropes Jamie into talking to the Minister of Finance. Jamie agrees, but only to sabotage Charles's chances. Meanwhile, Claire makes some new friends in Paris, including the quirky herbalist Master Raymond, the influential Louise de la Tour, and the sweet Mary Hawkins, whose name sounds familiar to Claire for reasons she can't quite place yet. Jamie and Claire try to rekindle their romance, but Jamie's head is still haunted by memories of Randall. A few days later, Louise gets Jamie and Claire invited to a party at Versailles, so they dress up in their finest clothes. And let me tell you, Claire's red dress is unforgettable. Even Jamie can't stop staring. At Versailles, they meet King Louis XV, who's literally in the middle of a party while trying to relieve himself. Very classy. Then there's Duvernay, the Minister of Finance, who's way too interested in Claire's feet.
Like, I was like, what is going on here?
But don't worry, they soon make up. It's all very entertaining. And guess who else is at the party? The Duke of Sandringham, who had pledged to help exonerate Jamie last season, but in the end did nothing. He's there with his young assist Alexander Randall, yes, as in Black Jack Randall's younger brother. And that's how Claire learns that Black Jack Randall is still alive. Claire decides not to tell Jamie about Randall just yet. He's too busy with Charles Stuart's schemes and running Jared's wine business. Claire doesn't want to sit around all day either, so she volunteers at a hospital run by the strict but brilliant Mother Hildegard. She has this adorable dog named Bhutan, who somehow knows how to sniff out people's illnesses. Over time, Claire earns Mother Hildegard's respect. Everything goes smoothly until Claire remembers why Mary Hawkins' name sounded so familiar. She's Frank's ancestor. Frank had mentioned her while showing Claire his family Bible. And here's the kicker. Mary is supposed to marry Black Jack Randall, meaning Frank's existence depends on Randall staying alive long enough to father a child with Mary. So now Claire is stuck in a major moral dilemma. More interesting news, Claire finds out that Master Raymond sells poison in his shop. Well, he tells his customers that it's
That was an epic plot twist, and the way that unfolds is even more epic. But I love this guy. I wanted more of him.
Poison, but what he sells them really is something called bitter cascara, which causes poison-like symptoms, but doesn't kill anyone. Meanwhile, Jamie's trying to make sure Charles Stuart gets no funding for his rebellion, so he hires a street kid called Fergus to steal Charles's correspondence, hoping to find out where the money is coming from. With a little help from Mother Hildegard to decipher a message encoded in sheet music, they discover that the Duke of Sandringham...
Fergus has the same situation with Roger, where you don't expect, or I didn't, to be a character that like sticks around, but he truly sticks around.
...is funding both sides of the conflict. Naturally, Jamie wants to confront the Duke, but things are about to get more complicated. A few days later, someone tries to poison Claire, and it's pretty obvious that the culprit is the Count of Saint-Germain, that shady ship owner she crossed paths with earlier. Luckily, the poison doesn't do much damage. Thanks to Master Raymond, it's actually just bitter cascara. After this close call, Master Raymond gives Claire a necklace that will change color if it detects real poison, kind of like a magical warning system. When Claire recovers, she finally tells Jamie that Black Jack Randall is alive,
which I was so relieved about. Also, I can't remember the fate of the necklace. I hope she explains that in this.
And surprisingly, Jamie is thrilled because this means now he has the chance to kill the guy himself. This news gives Jamie a renewed sense of purpose, and for the first time in a while, he's able to be intimate with Claire without being haunted by Randall's ghost. With that out of the way, they get back to the mission, changing the future. Jamie and Claire plan to host a fancy dinner party in honor of the Duke of Sandringham, with the hope that they'll make him see just how dumb it is to support Charles Stuart. A casual evening of manipulation and sabotage. But, of course, nothing ever goes smoothly for these two. Right before the party, Claire gets called to the hospital because of a massive explosion at the Royal Armory. Mary Hawkins decides to tag along. On their way home, disaster strikes. Their carriage breaks down, and they are forced to walk back through the streets of Paris. Out of nowhere, a gang of men jumps them, and they assault young Mary. Claire almost suffers the same fate, but the men get spooked when they recognize her face. They think she's someone called La Dame Blanche, which means the White Lady, who apparently has some kind of mystical power. When they finally return to the house, the dinner party is already in full swing. Alexander Randall, who's smitten with Mary, offers to stay with her, but Mary is in such a state of shock that she wakes up screaming. Alexander tries to comfort her, but she freaks out and runs off. Alexander follows Mary, but he trips and falls on top of her, and of course, the guests witness this and assume the worst. Chaos breaks out, and there's a massive brawl right there in the living room. It's absolute madness. As you can imagine, the aftermath of that party is a mess, with poor Alexander getting thrown into the Bastille. However, the dinner does achieve what Claire and Jamie had hoped. The Duke of Sandringham realizes that Charles Stuart is an idiot. So, not a total failure. The only problem is, the Count of Saint-Germain isn't done causing trouble. He uses the whole commotion as an opportunity to propose a shady wine deal to Charles. But don't worry, Jamie and Claire already have a plan to take him down. Later on, we learn why those men who attacked Mary and Claire were so freaked out by her. Turns out, Jamie's been spreading a rumor around Paris, telling everyone that Claire is a witch. He's been spending a lot of time in a brothel with Charles, so he just wanted a good excuse to refuse the prostitute's attentions. Plus, it also means that people are too scared to mess with Claire. Honestly, it's kind of brilliant.
I love that.
Let's move on to Mary, but first, if you're enjoying this recap, please remember to subscribe. That really helps me a lot.
Guys, go subscribe to Princess Plotline, subscribe to me if you'd like to continue this Outlander journey. I feel like I'm not having that much to say right now, and that's kind of how I felt like watching this. So did you guys find all this Paris stuff to be the best ever? Because I thought season 3 was so much better. I really did.
Let's move on to Mary, who's determined to free Alexander from the Bastille.
I thought this was great,
and she also wants to marry him. But Claire knows it's impossible. She's supposed to marry Blackjack. If this doesn't happen, Frank might never be born. So, Claire manipulates Alexander into breaking off the engagement. And just when things seem to settle down, guess who pops up again? That's right, Blackjack Randall himself, strutting around Versailles like he owns the place. When Claire runs into him, the tension is off the charts. Jamie finds out he's there soon after and immediately challenges Randall to a duel. Claire begs Jamie to hold off on killing him, at least until Mary conceives her child. And because Jamie is the most honorable guy ever, he agrees to wait. But he also makes Claire promise something in return. If they can't change the future, Claire must go back to her time and be with Frank, so that she and their baby will have someone to take care of them in the future. Jamie is the best, guys. He's putting Claire and their child first, even if it breaks his heart. Things seem to calm down for a while, but this is Outlander, so you know the drama's far from over. Claire finds out that the king has arrested a bunch of people for witchcraft, so she tells Master Raymond to please be careful. Jamie finally spills the beans to Murtagh. He tells him about Claire, the stones, the time travel, the whole crazy truth. Murtagh is surprised.
Which I love that he did, and he's surprisingly, what she's about to say, is accepting of it. He is another character that I didn't put too much thought into, and I wish I did, because he's definitely in the show, guys.
Surprisingly cool with it. Well, he punches Jamie at first, but they still love each other. Then Jamie and Claire decide to mess up Saint-Germain's and Charles Stuart's new business deal. They fake another smallpox outbreak, only this time it's a total lie. Saint-Germain tries to sell the wine off before the shipment is destroyed, but Murtagh swoops in and steals the whole stash. Boom, their business is toast. Charles is crushed because he was counting on that money to fund his rebellion, but Jamie couldn't be happier until disaster strikes. Fergus, who's still running around like Jamie's little bandit sidekick, goes with him to a brothel, and he decides to sneak into one of the rooms to see what he can steal. But of course, he picks the absolute worst room, Blackjack Randall's. Randall catches him and, in the most awful turn of events, abuses Fergus. The poor kid screams. Jamie rushes in, and when he realizes what happened, he challenges Randall to a duel on the spot. Claire finds out Jamie's about to break his word, and she rushes over to stop him. But by the time she gets there, they're already fighting, and all she can do is watch helplessly. Both men are out for blood, but just as things are getting intense, Claire starts experiencing severe labor pains. The scene keeps cutting between the duel and Claire's worsening condition, and the tension is sky high. Jamie ends up seriously wounding Randall, right in the crotch. But at that
I feel like we don't really get back to that crotch moment, how things went down under there, not that it matters. This was such a rough one, and it's so scary too, this scene. Like, she doesn't want to call for them, because if she like yells Jamie and he looks, then freaking Blackjack Randall could get in a kill real quick. So it was so intense because she's there and she obviously wants to say something, and then the stomach thing is happening and she doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want to deflect the fight and get Jamie killed in the moment. It was a lot.
Same moment, Claire collapses with a cry of pain, and then the royal guard shows
go
up and
to
arrests Jamie because
episode
dueling is
7.
illegal in France. Claire is rushed to the hospital,
Episode
but her
7.
baby, a little girl, is stillborn. Claire is absolutely shattered, and she's on the verge of death herself. But Master Raymond sneaks into the hospital in the middle of the night, and somehow he saves Claire's life. We don't know exactly what he does, but it's enough to pull her back from the edge. Meanwhile, Jamie's locked up in the Bastille, and Black Jack Randall is shipped off to England to recover from his wounds. Poor Claire is slipping into a deep depression, and she's still mad at Jamie for breaking his word. But then Fergus tells her about Randall's attack, and everything clicks. She forgives Jamie and arranges a meeting with the King of France to try to get him released. The king says sure, but only if she does him a favor. He's got Raymond and Saint-Germain locked up on charges of witchcraft and wants Claire to judge them, because she's
This was a really cool scene.
Claire agrees because she's got a plan. She gives them both a cup of poison and tells them if they're good guys, they'll survive. Raymond takes the poison first, and of course it's just bitter cascara, so he's fine. But Saint-Germain isn't so lucky. Claire's magic necklace turns black when it's his turn, and we realize Raymond slipped something extra into the drink. Saint-Germain realizes he's going to die, says a final screw you to everyone,
I don't know why he realizes
so
that.
Goodbye, Saint-Germain.
But good night.
Raymond goes free, but is exiled from France, and Claire gets Jamie pardoned after she lets the king have intercourse with her. It's quick and uncomfortable, but she does what she...
It's very quick, it's terrible, but thank God it's literally 2 seconds.
Not that it's okay. Jamie out of prison. When he finally comes home, all scruffy and bearded, Claire tells him about their daughter Faith. They have a good cry together, they forgive each other, and they decide to leave France, taking Fergus with them.
And
so they make it back to Lallybroch.
So to me, I feel like this is where like it turned up more for me. Going back home, seeing Jenny, and just Paris was a fucking time. So much did happen, and it was so just dark and stuff. Their lives are insane.
And everything is good for a while. But then they get a letter from Jared, congratulating Jamie for supporting Charles Stuart and joining the Jacobite cause. Wait, what? Turns out, Charles got all the money he needed for his rebellion, so he's just landed in Scotland and is gathering his army. And that's not all. He's also forged Jamie's signature in a document where all Jacobites pledge their loyalty to him.
I can't believe it's
that Jamie's now a traitor to the crown. Jamie and Claire realize they can't stop the rebellion. Culloden is going to happen, no matter what they do. So now they're going to put all their efforts into helping the Jacobites win. First step, they need more men for the Jacobite army. So Jamie goes to his grandfather, Simon Fraser, the 11th Lord Lovat, for support. As soon as Jamie and Claire arrive at his castle, they realize Colum is also there, and so is Leary. Claire is not happy, but somehow they end up on semi-decent terms. Lord Lovat is a crafty old guy, and even though he promised Colum he'd stay neutral, he gives Jamie some men in case the Jacobites win. Now they have to train these men, who are mostly farmers, and turn them into soldiers. Jamie recruits Rupert, Angus, and Dougal to help, and there's some friction between uncle and nephew, because Dougal has some unusual methods. But they still manage to work together. One night when Jamie is relieving himself in the woods near their camp, he catches a young English soldier sneaking around. Jamie demands to know what he's doing, but the soldier refuses to talk. So Claire pretends to be a prisoner. She gives an award-winning performance.
Iconic.
And the young soldier, whose name is Lord John Grey, agrees to reveal all the information he has on the English army to preserve Claire's honor. Jamie decides to let him go, so Lord John now owes him his life, and he considers this a debt of honor. But once that debt is settled...
Not John Gay, John Grey.
He vows to kill Jamie. Jamie and Claire don't know this yet, but their encounter with Lord John is going to be very important in the future, because a Grey never forgets an obligation. The next day, Jamie gathers his men and heads off to Charles Stuart's camp. The war is about to begin. So a few months go by, and the rebellion is in full swing. Claire is busy setting up a field hospital while Jamie and Charles Stuart's generals are arguing about how to attack the English camp. The main problem is that they have to cross this boggy meadow to get there, and they're worried the horses might get stuck. But then, this guy shows up, and he knows of a hidden trail that will bypass the bog completely. So the Jacobites end up surprising the English and hit them with everything they've got. Rupert is badly wounded in the fight, so he ends up in Claire's hospital. Angus is super worried about him, so worried in fact that he doesn't even tell anyone that he's hurt too. In the end, Rupert pulls through, but Angus doesn't make it. Everyone's heartbroken, and they give Angus a proper send-off with lots of tears and even more booze. Dougal is also sent away. Charles Stuart wants him off his army because he thinks Dougal is a bloodthirsty barbarian. Jamie proposes promoting Dougal to captain of a new unit instead, and sending him off to handle scouting. That way, Dougal saves face, and Jamie gets rid of him without all the drama. Charles is totally down with the idea. A few more months go by, and the Jacobite army has made some serious progress. They're ready to destroy anything in their path. But here's the thing, the generals can't agree on what to do, and they're not listening to Charles Stuart either. Jamie gets sent back to Inverness to take care of the army's winter quarters, so he and Claire head off. But before that, they make a quick stop to find out who was behind the attack on Claire and Mary Hawkins back in Paris. Turns out, it was the Duke of Sandringham. And why did he do it? Because he owed money to the Count of Saint-Germain. Murtaugh doesn't waste any time. He just kills the Duke. Fast forward to April. We're just 3 days away from the Battle of Culloden. Jamie has already set up camp near Inverness, and Claire is super depressed because things are looking pretty bleak. To clear her head, she decides to take a walk around town, and boom, she runs into Mary Hawkins. Mary's got some heavy news. Alex is really sick, and his dying wish is for his brother, Black Jack Randall, to marry Mary so that she and the baby she's expecting are taken care of. Turns out Frank isn't a direct descendant of Black Jack after all. He's descended from Alex. That
was so good and so relieving, and I freaking loved it because Frank, because of Black Jack Randall, like, just puts such a bad taste in your mouth. But to find out that they're not actually directly related was so relieving. He's like an uncle times a million or whatever.
His future is assured. So Mary and Black Jack Randall get married, and right after the ceremony, Alex dies. Black Jack, being his twisted self, grieves by punching Alex's corpse a few times. Meanwhile, Colin Mackenzie also dies, but before he goes, he tells Claire that Galis was burned at the stake after having her baby, and that kid is being raised by some cousins called William and Sarah Mackenzie.
Wait, say that again.
Galis was burned at the stake after having her baby, and that kid is being raised by some cousins called William and Sarah Mackenzie. Spoiler alert, that baby's going to be important in the future. Back at camp, the Jacobite army is tired.
Wait, that's a big spoiler alert.
But Jamie tells Claire that Galis was burned at the stake after having her baby, and that kid is being raised by some cousins called William and Sarah Mackenzie. Spoiler alert, that baby's—
Come to think of it, like, I know I see Galis again, spoiler alert, but I don't remember the kid. Oh God.
Going to be important in the future. Back at camp, the Jacobite army is tired, starving, but Jamie's still trying to fire them up for one last effort. He wants to launch a surprise night attack on the English. Good plan, but here's the kicker. Charles Stuart and his army get totally lost. So, Jamie's got no choice but to call off the attack because they just don't have enough men to pull it off. And that's it. Now there's no avoiding the disaster. The Battle of Culloden is happening the next day. But first, we jump to 1968. Claire is in Inverness for Reverend Wakefield's funeral, but not with Frank since he's already passed away. She's done well for herself over the years. She's now a surgeon.
So Frank is dead. We don't know why. For some reason, we'll get to it when we get to it, I did not think of— I thought it was like— I don't know what I thought, but the death was not what I expected.
Looks amazing, and she has a beautiful daughter called Brianna, who catches the attention of Roger Mackenzie Wakefield, the Reverend's adopted son. Roger and Brianna hit it off right away. So
I can't wait to talk about
Brianna.
Brianna.
To stay with him for a few days in Scotland.
Because we're not there yet, but I do really like her character, but just there's a lot of kind of disappointing things, which I'll get to.
Anna and Roger spend most of their time sightseeing, and he also takes her to the university where he teaches history. That's where they meet the super patriotic Scottish redhead. Yes, guys, it's Galis Duncan. Except in this time, she goes by Gillian Edgards. Meanwhile, Claire takes a little solo trip to Culloden Moor, and then she heads to a library to check out some historical records, like the deed to Lallybroch she and Jamie signed over 200 years ago, and Roger's family tree, just out of curiosity. A little later, Claire visits Lallybroch and imagines Jamie's standing at the entrance waiting for her. It's such a heartbreaking moment. A few days later, Brianna and Roger are poking around the attic, and they find this old newspaper article from when Claire came back to the present, 2 years after she disappeared. Brianna does some quick math and realizes that she can't be Frank's biological daughter. So Claire ends up spilling the whole story. Time travel, Jamie, everything. Naturally, Brianna is furious, and she doesn't believe her. To distract her, Roger takes her out for drinks. Meanwhile, Claire sees Galis' picture on a pamphlet and decides to track her down. She finds her house, but the only one there is her husband. Before leaving, Claire steals Galis' notebook, which is full of notes on time travel, what kind of jewels to use, where to cross, and even something about needing a human sacrifice. We cut back to 1746. Culloden is just hours away. Jamie and Claire know that the only way to stop the catastrophic battle is to eliminate Charles Stuart, because he's the one driving the rebellion. It's not a decision either of them wants to make, but it seems like the only way to save countless lives, including their own. Unfortunately, Dougal overhears them, and he loses it. The whole thing turns into this brutal fight. Things escalate fast, and it becomes clear that there's no going back. In the end, Jamie and Claire kill Dougal. A few seconds later, Rupert discovers them. He's ready to kill Jamie, but Jamie asks for a couple of hours to settle his affairs, and Rupert agrees, out of respect for their friendship. Jamie uses the time to put the deed for Lallybroch in his nephew's name, and he sends Fergus to deliver it to Jenny. Then he asks Murtagh to get all the men from Lallybroch back home safely, and Murtagh agrees, but we all know he'll come back to fight alongside Jamie. The last thing Jamie does is tell Claire he knows she's pregnant and that it's time to keep her promise. She has to go back to the future to protect
herself. He tracked her, period.
And the baby. So Jamie takes Claire back to the Stones. It's a gut-wrenching scene. She doesn't want to leave Jamie, but he's not able to time travel. His fate lies at Culloden Moor. They share one last moment together, promising to love each other forever. Then Claire touches the stones and gets pulled back to her own time, leaving Jamie behind to face whatever comes next. Back in 1968, Claire tells Roger and Brianna that Galus is a time traveler, and she's actually Roger's ancestor. Claire believes she's getting ready to travel back in time, only to be burned at the stake. The three of them head to Craig Nadoon to stop Galus. But they're too late. Galus has already killed her husband, and she crosses through the stones right in front of them. This is when
that happens because Brianna and Roger, you can't not believe your mom now. Hello, you just saw it with your own eyes, and that's just perfect because I was like, how the hell is she going to know? Like, what's gonna happen? And it just worked itself out so perfectly and so much better than I thought. Like, having Gallus back in general was such a cool element. Like, I thought she was gone.
Brianna finally accepts that Claire's been telling the truth. So she asks Roger to share a vital piece of information he found while going through the Reverend's papers. It turns out that after Culloden, 5 Scottish soldiers took refuge in a house. 4 of them were executed by the English, but 1 escaped. Yes, it was Jamie Fraser, of course. Claire's mind is blown. She thought Jamie had died at Culloden, but suddenly there's a real possibility of reuniting with him. So Claire knows what she has to do.
I have to go back.
And that's it for now, guys. Stay tuned for the
guys, how is season 3 not the best?
Continuation of Jamie and Claire's epic journey. And please remember to subscribe for more great content.
Subscribe, guys. Okay.
The last time we...
Alright, so... Yeah, I don't know. Sorry if this one was a little underwhelming. I promise I'm gonna do better in the next 2 seasons because there's a lot to cover. I feel like in season 2, a lot of things happen, but then it's solved and under the rug and on to the next thing. Where season 3 and 4 are very more connected and have more follow-up and through. But yeah, ending like that was so amazing. Obviously, just naturally, you kind of know she's gonna go back, but it's like how, and it was just done so beautifully. I don't know if this is more of a season 3 thing. The only thing, to leave your daughter behind is kind of wild. But I mean, it's a show, so whatever. And also, it's just so crazy that she lived those 20 years. Because I don't know if that was clear. Well, obviously, the daughter is way older, obviously. But it is wild that she lived all those years thinking he was dead. This show is absolutely incredible and amazing, and I can't wait to talk about season 3 like I can. If you guys would like me to continue this, like I've been saying, please show some love in the comments. Let me know any fun facts you have. I love a fun fact. And what should I do? Should I start my reactions on season 6, 7, 5? Honestly, like I think I need to watch 5 like tonight. I missed the show too much. Like I think I don't know if I could wait, guys. So let me know. I need your vibes. All right, I will talk to you guys soon. I'm trying to spit these out, and yeah, it's Billy Bitch.